Hi everyone, so Dreamcore is a psychological horror game based on liminal spaces that released in January of this year. A big selling point for this game has been that it contains the largest maps ever created in any backrooms or liminal space video game. As of now, 2 levels have been released, Dream Pools and Eternal Suburbia. There are 3 more levels planned for release down the road in the next year or so as well. So let's start out with Dream Pools. This level might look a little familiar to you if you've seen or played any other liminal space games before, but it might even feel that way if you haven't. I'm not an expert by any means for these kinds of games and experiences, but it's something that inherently feels a bit nostalgic and familiar. If you haven't played any game like this before, then it might be quite confusing, but essentially this is a puzzle game. There's no story or dialogue telling you why you've ended up in this weird place, but you're here now and the only logical thing to do is walk around and figure out how to get out, or at least find more information to know what the heck's going on. And as I mentioned, these levels are large. What I found impressive about that though is that it didn't feel like it was just a bunch of empty space, at least not in this level. I found it really engaging right away with the layout of everything and somehow, trying to piece together any clues that I could find about where to go next. I don't really know if the clues were even there or if I was just making them up as I went along, but that is also essentially part of the experience. It's as much of a psychological game as it is a puzzle. And depending on who you are, you might find that extremely confusing and overwhelming and not fun at all. But you also might find that this is something that you kind of find relaxing in a really strange way. I do fall into the camp of that second one, which was kind of surprising for me to find out. If this was a real life scenario, then of course it would be like an absolute nightmare to be stuck in. But for a game setting, I really did enjoy this. Because there's such a limitation on what you can do, it kind of forces you to input your own interpretations into things and even some of your own imagination to things that might be happening or not happening, and things having meaning or no meanings at all. And I really had a good time with that. I was definitely putting a lot of thought and meaning into everything that I would come across, every slide that I would see, the colors of those slides, any signs that I would see on the wall, just to kind of get any kind of clue or to just kind of keep my sanity and have some belief that I was doing things the right way. And that really made the experience a lot more dynamic. And because this is a puzzle game, the amount of time it will take you to get through these levels will also be pretty dependent on how you play this and how you figure things out. I think it ultimately took me right around 2 hours to finish Dream Pools, and I never got bored or frustrated by it. I even jumped right into the second level, Eternal Suburbia, just a few minutes after completing this one because I wanted even more from this game. That might have been a mistake though, because this level did get on my nerves a lot more than Dream Pools. I still think it was pretty fun when I think back on it, but I did not enjoy it nearly as much. This level takes place in a literal suburbia that kind of goes into infinity in every direction. You enter into houses that are within these white picket fences in an unknown part of the world, and all you can do is enter the houses and then exit those same houses over and over and over again. As a concept, I think this was really interesting, and it visually looks really great when you just kind of stand outside and you look at all the houses in every direction, and there's even a day-night cycle that happens in this one. But the actual experience of having to open these doors, it was kind of just really bothering me for pure sensory reasons. But thankfully the level does go beyond just these houses, but I'm not going to show much of that part of it or any part of that because the games are short enough as it is, and I want to avoid spoilers wherever I can. And because it does go farther than just this first part, the level took me a lot longer to get through as well, but it was really worthwhile and satisfying once I did finally complete it. Puzzle games in general are always pretty hit or miss for me. I think that's kind of the nature of them to begin with, but something like this was just kind of easier for my brain to understand than a lot of other puzzle games that I've played. Overall, I just felt like this was a really enjoyable game, especially for the price point. It was just under $10 for PS5, and I would have been really happy with that just with these 2 levels alone, but it comes with a total of 5, which we'll get here over time, so I think that's more than justified. This definitely won't be a game for everyone, but if this looks interesting to you, I think it's a great one to start with in this kind of liminal space, backrooms kind of world. So that's all for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video. If any of you have played Dreamcore, I'd love to know what you thought about these first 2 levels so far. But yeah, so until the next one, everyone, take care.